an attack where the attack is that you wear this mask on your forehead. And if you have a mask on your forehead, then the AI, the facial recognition AI, does not recognize you as a person, or recognizes you as a completely different person. So this is challenging, right? Because if you imagine a system like WorldCoin, you could imagine training an attack against it where something that's not a person can like basically wear a mask and pretend to be a person. So this is challenging, right? So and I think the big reason why these attacks are challenging is that they can be trained with only a limited amount of access to the model. Like you don't even need to see the full model to train an attack, right? These attacks are they're actually pretty scary. And they can be you don't have to fully control an environment to provide an attack. You can just wear a mask. So the challenge here basically is, can we use cryptography to try to protect against these attacks? So actually we can. So what we have over here is this is a diagram that shows the math of what goes on inside of an AI model, right? And what I think is interesting about the math is that it's a very specific and very structured kind of computation, right? So who here has worked with zk-SNARKs before? So if you work with zk-SNARKs, you know that zk-SNARKs have very high overhead, right? If a computation takes 1 millisecond to do, maybe it takes 1 second or maybe 10 seconds to prove. Now, AI computation is basically a combination of a large amount of matrix multiplication and a smaller amount of these very simple nonlinear calculations. Matrix multiplication is actually very easy to prove. If you have a very large matrix multiplications, you can optimize proof systems that do a very good job of proving them very quickly. So making AI computations be provable is actually much easier than making regular hard computations provable. So you can do this with zk-SNARKs. You can also do this with multi-party computation, right? You can make a system where you have 3 computers, and each of those 3 computers has one part of a model, and in order to compute, you need all 3 of them. You need any 2 of the 3 to participate, but the system continues to work even if any one of them is dishonest, right? Even if any one of them is dishonest, you continue to get correct answers, and no single one of them can extract any significant amount of information about the model, right? So you can do an MPC, and you can actually preserve privacy. You can basically make models where no one can see the inside, not even the creator. And if you make a model like that, then training attacks against it actually becomes much more difficult. So one interesting long-term goal is basically asking the question, can we make a system where we can use some kind of DAO on the blockchain plus some kind of cryptography off-chain, maybe MPC, to both to train a model and to run a model. And if you do this, then because the process for who submits the training data is an on-chain mechanism, it's a DAO, and there's fair and transparent rules that show who can submit. People are going to know that the AI model was created in a way that is open and that is transparent, and they're going to have that guarantee without even being able to see the model, right? No one can see the model, not even the creator can see the model, but because you have this process for creating the model where the integrity of the process is guaranteed with a blockchain-based DAO and using cryptography, you can still have guarantees that this is something that's trustworthy. So you can imagine applications that wants to use AI as the rules for the game to try to do something like this. Finally, AI as the objective of the game, right? Basically, what if we want to use blockchain-based mechanisms and cryptography to train better AIs that we can then use for other purposes? So one example of this is what I talked about right now, using cryptography for privacy. Another example of this is using blockchain-based markets and blockchain-based incentives to create open markets that allow anyone to come in and participate in trading. Right? So, four categories of application. I think, so some just general conclusions about this, right? So first of all, I think intersections of blockchains and AI are real. They are important, but at the same time, I think it's also important to remember that there is a lot of challenges, and you probably should not try to consider this as kind of the narrative that will carry the entire space forward, right? There's lots of other things. There's lots of other amazing and important types of blockchain applications. Decentralized social, in my opinion, is super important. Continuing to improve on decentralized identity, reputation, proof of personhood, also important. Making better versions of all of the existing applications, also important. Games also important. DeFi also important. I don't think that there is one single category that's going to kind of dominate and carry the entire space right? And I think if we're building a blockchain AI intersection, then the easiest kind of thing to build is AI as a player in a game, right? The rules of the blockchain define a game, and the rules and the people participating, the humans participating, create the incentives, and then the AIs participate as the players. I think this is a design that is fairly simple. It doesn't depend on any kind of hard technology that's still under development, and you can just build it, and there's a lot of different applications for which I think this kind of form factor makes a lot of sense. So if you want something simple, if you want something that's doable now, I think AI as a player in a game is a great place to start. Now, going forward, AIs as an interface are, I think, important. We are, I think, in the next 10 years of Ethereum needs to really reach users on a much larger scale than before. And I think to reach users well, we are going to need much more sophisticated forms of wallets and interfaces to try to make the experience of interacting with Ethereum both more understandable and easier, and at the same time more safe. But the harder ones are AI as the rules of the game, right? Basically because if you make the AI actually be the rules, then you're putting a lot of trust into it. And you're putting a lot of trust into something where sometimes it still breaks, right? And we all, we know how to train attacks against it. And so you can try to use cryptography to protect against these things, but the challenges in trying to do this are great, right? So I think benefits are really great, but challenges are also really great as well. And there's a lot of really fascinating math and really fascinating cryptography that goes into doing these things well. So if anyone here is interested in building AI blockchain applications, first, make sure you have an idea that actually makes sense. An application is not automatically good just because it has an AI and it has a blockchain. First, it has to be good as an application. It has to provide something that's useful. Then the AIs have to provide something that's needed, and the blockchain part also has to provide something that's needed. And if you can figure that out, then great, right? And then the next question is how do these two different pieces fit together? And so I think, I talked over here about a couple of different strategies that you can use, there's a lot of room for creativity here, but I'm looking forward to seeing what kinds of things people here come up with. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vitalik Buterin, for sharing useful information with your future vision. And myself and all the guests here are looking forward for the upcoming explosive development of AI and blockchain. And hopefully those of us who can be said to be the pioneers will gain the great achievements. And hope Vitalik will have a lot of help and bring Ethereum more and more successfully. And right now we're gonna go to the first engaged panel discussion, how to build the world from Vietnam and Asia. Let's welcome to the stage Mr. Trung Nguyen, founder of AC, Mr. Thành Lê, founder of Coin98, Mr. Kha founder of Bird Eye, Mr. Trung Bang, Chief Product Officer of Whole Station. And guiding our discussion today is a seasoned leader, the founder of Kyber and Caliber, a true pioneer in blockchain space, Mr. Loy Liu.